Kevin Robert Crone, who's going to talk, who's the president of the Dale Carnegie Business Group here in Toronto. We're very excited to have Dale Carnegie come in. Rita, Kevin's co-teammate, did a session with the technical people, and you all know how hard it is to get technical people to engage in conversation, so that was it worked out very, very well. As an experienced structural consultant, Kevin specializes in listening for and redesigning the underlying root causes for behavior and performance change. Through the use of proven Dale Carnegie systems and methodology, he has created and executed solutions for hundreds of clients, bringing energy, motivation, engagement, and most importantly, results to Canadian business. Kevin, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. I'll shake your hand too. It's a formal way. Well, good afternoon. It's great to be part of your event here. And yeah, anybody familiar with Dale Carnegie? Like you're business people, of course. You've read How to Win Friends, Influence People. Any people take some of our programs over the years, and just two. That's very sad for me. Yeah, well, maybe at the end of this will help out a little bit. And I gotta guess that you're sticking around for this particular meeting because you love to have contentious conversations with people. Is that right? Is that, who enjoys just a nice, robust, contentious conversation? It's okay. Just raise your hand. Well, you're in the right place, because we're gonna diagnose this. We're gonna look at this a little bit. We're business people. I'm a business owner, operator. You're business owners, operators, and we can run into this a little bit. Isn't that correct? And yeah, have you had one in the last half hour or so? Or hey, there, yeah. And so we're gonna be running into this. And our work at Dale Carnegie has been a 100-year-old organization. Has really been helping people kind of navigate their way through important conversations. And you could say life is made up of important conversations. In fact, we say business lives in conversation. Isn't that true? The conversations that we have with each other here at this conference, the conversations we have with our strategic partners, our clients, the quality of those conversations and our ability to manage these conversations and present our best kind of foot forward is really going to make or break, our success, you could say. And all the studies and research, still today, #1 competency in business is communications, and that's Dale Carnegie's kind of core background and core experience. And so we're just going to this is going to be a conversation here for the next 35 minutes. I'm not going to present. I'm happy to do so. It's within me to speak for 35 minutes. I usually take about 10 times the amount of time to really work through managing a contentious conversation, actually. So we're going to go through it in a very short period of time. And we're going to do a couple of different things. Actually, we're going to look at two quick, I think just, you could say, processes. I think that are going to make a big difference next time we find ourselves in a contentious conversation. Well, let's look at it here for a moment. What is a contentious conversation, right? And how does it arrive to that point? So what actually happens to get us to to happen to find us arriving to a contentious conversation? What actually goes on? Yeah. Yeah, so it's two viewpoints, right? And you're sharing your viewpoints, and perhaps you disagree, right? And you disagree maybe wholeheartedly, as it were, right? And so what happens? What can happen, or what that tends to happen in that moment of disagreement? Yeah, positions harden. And what happens then? What can happen? So you disconnect. Sorry? Yeah. So we're raising voices. What else? The emotional. Yeah, we can get emotional. I saw a hand at the back. Our defense mechanism caused us to dig in and get emotional, all these things. And so this is what this is what we're dealing with here. And our emotions can rise. Our egos can get in the way. And we dig in, right? And as a result of that interaction, at the end of it, what can happen? Sure, that's a easy way. You know, it's like a Led Zeppelin song, isn't it? Right. What happens? Yeah, there's a breakdown for sure. Yeah, you divide. In other words, you know, we're no longer talking. We're not communicating. We're not speaking to one another, or we're not speaking together very well, right? And so, you know, you and I, perhaps sometimes we can choose our teammates. Sometimes we can choose our customers, but perhaps sometimes we can't, right? And we got to continue to work together. And these things are going to come up, of course. A contentious conversation, it's just nature of business and nature of passionate business people, you know, very strong viewpoints and beliefs and convictions. It's going to happen. So how do we effectively navigate our way? I don't know about you, actually, why I'm still in this business. I've been around Dale Carnegie quite literally my whole life. My dad's been the CEO of Dale Carnegie here in Ontario and Canada for 50 years. So I grew up in the Dale Carnegie business, and I was attracted to the people, being around the people. And what was amazing to me about these people is how they handled themselves with such elegance and grace, even when it was under a lot of pressure, and how they handled challenging either customers or different viewpoints. And I always marveled at their ability to do that, and I was fascinated with it. And so we're going to look at a couple different things that can help us navigate our way through. It is said life is 99% impromptu. We're responding. People are asking for our opinions all the time. What do you think? Or we're just flat out giving them. Isn't that true? And so there's there's kind of really two sides to this here. Is how do we handle ourselves in an impromptu-like situation, and how can we manage ourselves or present our ideas in such a way that we're not causing a contentious conversation? Because we very well, being a very opinionated, passionate leader and business leader, we might actually be causing some of them. So we'll look at that real quickly. How do we disagree agreeably? How do we strengthen our personal opinions with evidence? And that's usually one of the biggest cause that sets it off is sharing our opinion. Let me ask you, let's take something that we all kind of relate to a little bit. Let's take smoking in public here. And I'm talking, anyone can relate to this. I mean, it's not as big as a thing as it used to be. And who's got an opinion on smoking in public that they don't mind sharing for a second? Your hand's up right away. Thank you for joining. Yeah. What's your opinion? Would you? It shouldn't be done. Okay. So let's just take this. Smoking in public shouldn't be done. What is your name, my good sir? Jack. Jack. Yeah, great. Thanks, Jack. Yeah. That sounds real. Right on, Jack. So it's okay. Yeah, it won't matter either way. Thanks, Ross. Jack, Rod, it's Ross. Ross, sorry. I'm on to my... Ross's opinion is that smoking in public should not be done. Who agrees with that? Who disagrees with that? And so, now Ross, you didn't see what you saw, yeah, you don't want to know. You don't want to know. But that's what happens. You share your opinion, people are going to automatically, our natural response is to agree or disagree. Now, if they agree with you, wonderful, right? Are we bringing in signage as I'm going here? This is wonderful. This is great. So if they agree with you, wonderful. If they disagree with you, what then happens? Let's leave it right there, man. Nice. You try to convince a person, right? And so after the opinion is stated, in our brains, what happens, right, is we begin to think about our case. Our automatic intuition is agree, disagree, yes, no. That's automatically what happens. It's normal. It's a natural reflex that we have, right? And if we disagree, well, away we go, right? Well, I think you're wrong. What happens when you say that? Yeah, right? What is the wall? Hi. What is the wall? What are we talking about, wall? What's this wall? Yeah, and so, right? And so, so we disagree, and we're going to, dig in, and away we go. And this is what happens. Well, now Ross, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say he's not crazy. Anybody agree or disagree with me? Disagree? Yeah. Well, we'll go with he's not crazy at the moment here. And now Ross has an opinion about this clearly. It shouldn't be done. But it comes from somewhere. It comes from a place. It comes from his experience, his background, his world, his past, right? And where does it come from, Ross? Like, what would you say?
Often wrong, but never in doubt.
Are we still talking about the same thing here? Or is that? Yeah.
I'm an ex-smoker.
Oh, okay.
30 years ago, I realized how gross it is.
Mm.
And I object now when I'm walking into a public building and I get a waft of somebody else's smoke in my face, or I get into a cab and it stinks.
Right.
Stuff like that really bugs me.
And therefore, you think about what smoking in public.
I think that, you go smoking in your own basement or home or wherever you like, but please don't do it where I have to inhale it.
Sure. Great. Let's give Ross a hand. Thank you very much. Thanks, Ross. Now, isn't that a huge difference, the way Ross just communicated his opinion about smoking in public than his first time around? I don't think it should be done to just that, to what he just said. What's the difference? Yeah, his personal experience, he supported it. I saw another hand at the back. Right. So you're actually getting an opportunity to kind of walk a mile in his shoes, his point of view of why he says that. It's a big, big difference between, well, I just think it's not a good thing or it shouldn't be done in public. Well, you don't have the benefit of his experience or his whole point of view, right? And so after listening to Ross the second time, weren't you just a little more engaged in his opinion about smoking in public? Of course. How could you not be? How could you not empathize a little bit with Ross, right? And so when we're sharing our opinions, we can either be, causing people to be listening to us the second time around. That's what Ross was doing. It was causing people to go, okay, I'm really kind of getting a gist of your point of view. Or we can be causing turning people off immediately, right? And that's such a huge difference, which could lead absolutely to having a difference of opinion, right? Of course. Now we still might share difference of opinions, but here's what Ross did. And the first thing is something we say in Dale Carnegie is evidence defeats doubt, right? And there's all kinds of forms of evidence. Ross was giving us his experience, right? An example from his past, actually different examples, but evidence defeats doubt. If we're going to share our opinions, let's make sure it's coming from a certain place, like it's coming from some background where we've earned the right to speak about this subject. More kind of tough to do when people are asking us on the spot all the time, just like I did with Ross here. What do you think about smoking in public? And he just, and you got to respond, right? And so here's the process that, Ross and I just kind of went through, and I appreciate his, doing that. And this is my brain. Here's actually it kind of does look like me when I'm looking at it, actually. Right? If I do a side profile like that. And so here's the what tends to happen is when somebody asks our opinion about something, we usually blurt out our opinion right away. I agree, I disagree, that's right, that's wrong, that's our natural reaction. And so we usually speak right away. And and have you ever put your foot in your mouth, you know, a couple times? I never have, you know, right? And so it's usually due to lack of thinking or or thought, right? As we know, right at the moment when we say it, whatever it is that we say, we all automatically have this kind of response like, oh, man, I should have really thought about that before I, you know. And of course, again, a natural reaction. So here's a process. Here's a big kind of first, you know, idea here is think, you know, before we speak. And here, you know, here's a process to help us kind of think through it. And this is what made Ross so effective, is our first natural thought is, what do I think? Well, it's I agree, I disagree, I think it's good, I think it's bad, we should do it, we shouldn't do it. That's a natural reaction. And we do that in a millisecond, don't we? Well, why do I think that? And then what evidence do I have? Or where does this come from to support my opinion? And then instead of speaking in that process, which usually happens when you give your opinion, right? People say, you know, for whatever reason, they might ask, so why do you think that way, Ross? Or, you know, and so they'll inquire. And so then they have to dig into that. Well, sometimes they just won't dig into it, right? And we'll just disagree, and away we go. And so here's an alternative way, a counterintuitive way, you know, you could say, to express our opinions. You begin with your example, you begin with your evidence, right? Just like Ross did the second time around. And this evidence shows, and therefore I believe. And then you get to your point of view, because we got to share our point of views, and we got to be very powerful in the way that we do communicate our points of views. And so here's the process here to do that. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to practice this a little bit. Oh yeah, do you honestly think I hear a moan at the back? And that's usually, you know, that means, oh, I don't want to have to do anything. But this is wonderful. We get to disagree and share our opinions. This is fun. This is good stuff. And so in a moment, well, actually, let's do this. We've been sitting all day. Why don't we please stand and find somebody to work with? Go ahead, do that. It could be just, you know, a complete stranger. Doesn't matter. Go for it. You guys can work together. 3 people here. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. Now that you met each other, you're in a group of 3s, that's fine. Nice. Here's your assignment. You ready for this? Okay, so I'm going to give you a topic to speak about. And decide in your group right now, between the 2 of you, who's number 1 and number 2. Sorry about that. Who's number 1 and 2? Okay. So here's how it's going to go. I am going to give you a topic to speak about, something you can speak about. You've earned the right to speak about this through your great experience. And so I'm going to give you a topic to speak about, and just with your partner there, I'm going to give you a moment, and then I'm going to call out number 1 or 2. And depending on that number, you're going to have the opportunity to just kind of talk to your partner about this particular topic. More specifically, you're going to speak about your example or your experience that has formed your opinion. This example or this experience has shown, therefore I believe, and what's your point of view on this topic, right? Now here's what you're going to look out for. I'm going to warn you ahead of time, is I'm going to give you a topic, and your natural reaction is going to be to say something like, well, I think that topic is pretty important, or I think it's critical. You're going to share, your instinct is going to be wanting to share your opinion right away. And I'm going to ask you to avoid that, just for this case, right? And just jump into an example. And so here's the first topic. Simple. Here's the first topic. Leadership. What do you think about leadership? Why do you think that? And what is your experience? What evidence do you have? What's one example to back up your opinion on what you think about leadership? So let's hear from number 2s in your group. So share an example. This example shows, and this is how I feel about leadership. Go. Okay, 15 seconds. This example shows, therefore, I think. Okay, quick timeout. Quick timeout. Now, you getting the gist of that? You getting the gist of this? Did you, partners, if you're listening there, did you hear an opinion right away? Maybe? It's just a natural thing, a habit. And so this is something that we might, we could look at ourselves and go, okay, wait a minute here. Let me rethink some things about the way I communicate, maybe bring some things on, right? And so this is just a way for us to organize our thoughts a little bit differently, communicate a little bit differently. Let's switch roles here before we talk about this. And so whoever just spoke, the next person's going to speak, and here's your topic. We're all leaders in here, right? And so that's why I picked leadership. I know that's something that's incredibly important to you, something easy for us to talk about. Here's another topic that's easy for us to speak about. Teamwork. What do you think about it? Why do you think that? What evidence do you have? You're going to have 1 minute to communicate your opinion on teamwork, starting with a great example about teamwork. Ready, set, begin. So 20 seconds. This example shows, therefore, I think. Okay, time. I tell you what, thank your partner and you can be seated. See, isn't that nice? You meet a complete stranger and you get their point of view on leadership. You get their point of view on teamwork. It's like, now, just having a quick experience following this process, or kind of testing it out, giving it a run, as it were, in just a couple minutes. What do you like about this process in terms of sharing your ideas more effectively? What do you like about it? Sorry? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't see you. Yeah, Lynn. Yeah. So not showing our cards, our point of view, where we stand on something right away, causes people to listen to us long enough so they may actually hear us, right? Because we could be, after we share our opinion, if we did say, well, leadership is important, they might, even if they agree, what might happen, right? What does happen?
They stop listening.
They just stop listening. So you keep talking about the importance of leadership and why, and they're not hearing you, right? They're in their own head, right, as it were. We're in our own heads. And so, boy, there's something we can do about that. What else would you like about it? Yeah. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Hmm.
If you don't allow them to state their positions, like they're feeling under
Ah.
they take it a little personally, it's not elegant to a conversation.
Sure, sure. So ultimately what you're talking about is making sure that people are heard and considered their ideas. Yeah, right? When we have something that really matters to us, something that, an opinion or just a point of view that really matters, and we want to share it, what's the least we want? To be heard. Just for people to consider it, right? Just you know, you don't have to, you don't have to take on my idea. You don't have to, you know, come over to my side, my point of view. I'm not, you know, when we're like, that's not necessarily what we're after, but just being heard or just considering the idea, right, is enough for us, isn't it? We just appreciate that when somebody just kind of gives us the time to be really heard and considered. And so here's just one way to, in fact, communicate our ideas so that we cause people to hear us, starting with evidence, starting with an example, long enough so that they understand our point of view. Big difference between just sharing our opinion and why and having this kind of evidence. In your pairs there, did your partner make you think seriously a little bit about teamwork and leadership because of their example? And it kind of reinforces, like, yeah, it is important, leadership, you know. It's like, wow, what an example. Or teamwork, of course, right? And so you're actually causing people to really join in on your point of view. But now what happens, right, when you disagree? And no matter what, you just disagree, you have a different point of view. And how do we handle that, right? And now, have you ever, how does that usually go when we disagree with somebody? So they share their opinion, even well, like this, you know. What tends to happen? Yeah. Yeah, and you disagree, and then, yeah. When you tell somebody you're wrong, what happens? You're wrong. You know, now we're like, right, and a real defensive, you know, fight or flight kind of thing on our hands. And so that's probably not the best tact. If we're thinking about being elegant in our conversations, leading, influencing, gaining enthusiastic cooperation, right? Again, what do we really want when we have an important opinion? To be heard, to be considered. And so we're going to suggest when people share their opinion, no matter how they share it, we do a good job in listening to them first, as you're talking about. And we call that connecting and cushioning, right? Is to really hear what's important to them, right? And, you know, but here's how it might go. Yeah, I hear you. But, right? Two problems with that. What's the first problem? Yeah, you know, I hear you. I mean, I could not have listened to you at all to be able to say that, right? I could be like texting and stuff. Yeah, man, I hear you, Ross. Yeah. And so how does your party know at all that you actually heard? They don't, right? And then but, what does but do? Negates, right? I hear you, but you're wrong. That's kind of the way. It's kind of what it causes, right? And in fact, I'll do one better. I hear you, but you're wrong, and let me now tell you why you're wrong. Is basically what's going on there with just I hear you, see what you're saying, and but, right? And so let's go back to Ross here for a second, if you don't mind, Ross. Is that all right? Or Jack, whatever. And so we'll go back to Ross. And Ross spoke about his opinion in smoking in public. And if you can think back to what he actually said, not just that he thinks it shouldn't be done, but why it shouldn't be done, what's important to Ross? Yeah. Fresh air. Fresh air is important to Ross. What else is important to Ross? His health, right? There's some other things too. What else was in there? Wow, you're like a psychologist, just going, wow, yeah, maybe, yeah, I think so, yeah. Is that true too? Would you like to maintain your good? You're good with the sound bites, eh? That's great. Okay, and yeah, so we're talking the core things: health, right? Fresh air. And so how might you actually say that to Ross? If you really heard him, how might you actually kind of, if you're in conversation with Ross, how would that go? What would you actually say to him? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you'd say something like, geez, I can see, health is really important to you, fresh air and different environments is really important to you. Now, if you're looking at Ross as I'm saying that, what's he doing? He's going, yeah, you're getting it, man. You're getting it. Yeah, you get me. Like, you understand my point of view, or even more so, what's behind my point of view. So it's not just, yeah, I hear you. He's really going, yeah, you're getting it. Now, of course, perhaps I disagree with Ross. I don't, but perhaps I do. And I say, so, what I'm really hearing, to you, about smoking in public is your health's important to you, and being able to have the freedom of fresh air wherever you are in public is really important to you. But, right? And so we got to be careful about the but, or however, or nonetheless. However, or nonetheless, they're just tricky buts. Aren't they? And it's just, we try to pull it off. However, but really it's just the same thing, right? It's just like elegant, however, or nonetheless, or nevertheless, right? And it's just, a little more disguised. They're all buts, right? And so we can just avoid it altogether. You don't have to say anything, in fact. So you just pause. And so I'm really hearing what you understand, health and fresh air. You pause. And of course, you want to share your opinion because you have a different opinion. So you go back into communicating your point of view. So here's the whole process that we just, put together here. Is just this: is first you got to listen, and it has been in my experience that this is the key to all communications and all interactions is our ability to listen. The fact of the matter is, what is important to people is coming out of our mouths all the time. People are communicating what is important to us all the time. And if we're not listening for it or listening to it so that we can communicate it back like we all did here with Ross, then we're not really demonstrating that we're being an effective listener, right? We're not really getting their point of view. And at the heart of it, that's all we want, is people just to understand our point of view, and you can do whatever you want with it, right? And so this is, I'd say, is the big first step, right? Now the cushion and connect, right? What a good cushion does, it softens the blow, as it were. It's not like I'm going to soften the blow or soften it before I blow you kind of thing. I'm just going to ease it, and then bam! We're not doing that, right? Really, it's about connecting with others. Rita earlier, worked with in the next group earlier on, was talking about connecting to people and just being an effective listener. Trying honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. Let me ask you, have you ever been wrong? Right? And so, is there a chance that you might be wrong again in the future? Shh, no. Especially at home. I'm never wrong at home, right? And so, right? And so, of course, there's a chance. So here's the spirit of all of this here right now is really connecting to people to hear their point of view. Like perhaps you're only sharing a limited version of your point of view. You have a point of view, but perhaps it's just not all complete just yet, right? And the only way we can help complete it is if we really listen to others and hear their point of view. And after a while, we hear enough people's point of views, the facts are there. It's all there. Reality is there. But it's the spirit of this, right? And so the cushion, to connect, to say back what we heard, and of course, and then jump into our point of view. But you gotta, you know, avoid the buts, right? Because then that just, you know, communicates that, well, now I'm gonna kind of let you have it. And so here's the whole process right there. And what do you like about this process, or just this cushion? Just the idea of the cushioning and connecting to others. What do you like about it? Yeah, Lynn. Thanks, Lynn. I'm glad you're here. Yeah. Right. Spoken like a true PR professional, right? Yeah. Demonstrating kindness, especially when they're wrong. It's kind. I really believe people are kind at heart, you know, and I have really great intentions. Sometimes we just kind of lose ourselves, and perhaps a process like this might just help us demonstrate our kindness. What else do you like about this?
If it's a workplace thing, you're more likely to have a successful transaction.
What would be an example of a workplace successful transaction?
Something you want to change about a process, something you want to say to a customer.
Right.
Sales says something, marketing says something else, operations says something else.
Right.
How do you come to a conclusion and make sure that everybody's okay with it and it moves forward?
Right on. You know, one conversation at a time will really determine how we move things forward, our business forward, whether it's with our coworkers, whether it's our customers. In fact, how we handle it can really determine, you know, keeping a client, as we know, right, our customer or strategic partner or not. And it'll be more to do with our ability to listen, inquire, really hear what's important to them, and share our opinions effectively, right? And so I'm going to encourage you, you know, keep this, as we're having conversations here over the next, you know, the end of our conference here, and to practice this, to share our opinions effectively. I would say even more so, practice our listening for what's important to others, and connect with them on that. And that will deepen our understanding and conversations and connecting with people. Have a great conference, everybody. Good to be with you.